In this video, we're going to talk about financial education and what mistakes you shouldn't be doing. And to me, financial education is more geared towards like the fundamentals, making sure that you know how to do certain things and stuff like that, and how, basically the profit and loss statement or income statement or balance sheet, some of the accounting aspect and all of that. What I'm seeing is that a lot of these people that have the formal education, they're missing something, and that's why I want to create this video, to make sure that even if you have that financial education, I think it's more important to not make certain mistakes, and that would be make you more financially literate and also be a better business person. So having a financial education is not equivalent to being a good business person. And this is what I want to do about this video, is really talk about that and make sure that you are focused on being and not making certain mistakes when you are running your business. And the number one, I think, rule that I would see is run the business. And I've worded it this way because there's a book that I read that's called The Checklist Manifesto. And in there they talk about, how important checklists are. And they're especially talking about pilots, how they have different checklists for different things. It is kind of like that with financial education, where you have a list of things that you have to check and ratios, etc. And it's the same with the pilot. And one of the examples that they have in this book was that, let's say an engine failure, and then what do you have to do? And the number one item that they had on the list was fly the plane. And that's because it was so easy to focus on the fact that the engine failed and then start looking at the checklist and what needs to be done, that sometimes pilots would forget, I guess, to fly the plane. And this is the same for running the business. I mean, you can look at your profit and loss, you could look at your cash flow and balance sheet and all of that, but you need to run the business, focus on what's important to the business, because it's going to fail. You can look at your accounting system all you want. That's not the business. The second rule is also everything is relative, so that in order to be able to compare different investments, you have to look at the relative. Knowing that somebody is making $1,000 in net cash flow a month is completely irrelevant. If you need to know how much they have invested in that particular business in order to do that. So that's why everything should be relative, knowing that the cash on cash return for this investment is 10% versus this one is 15%. It helps you make a decision, not knowing that an absolute number like $10,000 a month, it doesn't help you. Third is profit and cash flow. I think a lot of people are focusing on profit and loss and making sure that they make money, but you also want to look at cash flow. Cash flow is the fuel. I have a whole video on explaining profit and cash flow and how to handle that, so make sure you watch it. It's on my channel as well. But that's the key element to make sure that you're not making the mistake of ignoring one over the other. The fourth one is return on equity. I think there's a lot of people are forgetting the return on equity. I mean, they kind of get started at the beginning, and then they look at their return on equity, or at the very beginning when you buy an investment, it's going to be like similar, equivalent to your cash on cash returns. But as let's say a real estate investment is appreciating over time, and you have more equity that's being built because you're paying down the mortgage, your return on equity will tend to decrease. And so I think this is an important measurement, because it's basically tells you that there's equity out there that could have a better use, could yield a higher return. And I think this is important for people to focus on that, because I see too many people that have great assets, but these assets are just basically not returning as much as they possibly could. And finally, be numbers driven. I think often we ask ourselves some questions about, we want to make a decision. We want to say, hey, I don't know what the decision would be about, but should we do this over this? And often people tend to go into kind of how they feel about certain things or assumptions and stuff like that. But I think it's good to have some kind of hypothesis, but verify them with numbers. Capture numbers and verify them with numbers. So this is something very good. Also kind of verifying the impact. We were looking at the impact, for example, of coronavirus this year in terms of our project cycle. So we thought, oh yeah, our project cycle is, but we measured that and there was no changes. We also have some markets it seemed that it was a little bit more difficult for us, and we thought we felt that we had more extensions, but when we measured profitability and project cycle in these specific markets, they were the same than that we had in other markets. So we felt it was a little different, but when we looked at the numbers, really it was equivalent to other markets. So we kept investing in that market as well. I hope you found this video enlightening, that you learned something about financial education, financial literacy, and what mistakes not to make. And if you like this video, make sure you subscribe to the channel and watch the other videos to learn more about financial freedom, investments, etc. Thank you.